Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. I'm excited to have Ashley Clusion Blunt joining us. Hi Ashley.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me here.
And I hope a lot of you saw Ashley was our author for the day during the day today, and she's joined me now for a chat. So great to have you. And I saw there was lots of interaction in the page, so that was really great.
It was so much fun. I had a really, really great time talking to readers today and just so many lovely people in this group. So, yeah, thank you, everyone.
And also, it's like not the first time you've been involved as well. I've spoken to you before, so great having you back as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, just a little bit about Ashley co hosts James and Ashley Stay at Home, a podcast about writing, creativity, and health, and teaches creative writing. She's originally from Canada and she's lived and worked in South Korea, Peru, and Mexico, and currently lives in Sydney.
That's where I am on Gadigal land.
So thanks for joining us. Just wondering if you want to, and I want to share that I've got my copy here and really
Info,
enjoyed reading
wonderful.
it and love the cover. The cover's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But just wondered if you want to start off by telling us a little bit about Dark Mode.
Absolutely. Dark Mode is a psychological thriller with a dark web plot that will appeal to fans of J.P. Pomeroy, Hannah French, and Candice Fox, along with, of course, Gillian Flynn and Paul Hawkins. It's set in Sydney over a sweltering summer, and the story revolves around a woman named Reagan Carson, who owns a small boutique garden center where she grows strange and unusual plants. She has dedicated her career to plants because she finds them much easier to relate to than people. She has trust issues with people due to some issues that she's had in her past. And the story opens on the morning when she goes for a run and she discovers the body of a woman who looks very much like her, very close to her home. And she starts to think that that past is catching up with her.
And there's some quite scary things that happen. Um, is that I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything, but is that something that you might like in your research you found similar things might have happened to?
Yes, 100%. So this book is drawn from so much research into true crime. I've always been interested in true crime and I've always loved crime fiction. You know, I grew up reading Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys and then sort of graduated to John Grisham when he was at like the peak of his popularity with The Firm and The Pelican Brief and, you know, the movies were being made. And I've always loved that stuff. I spent a couple years in bed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and I listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours of true crime podcasts. And that was when I really started thinking, like, okay, like, I think I have enough material in my head to start writing this book. So, yeah, most of it is drawn from or inspired by true cases. And like I said, part of it takes place on the dark web. And the dark web stuff comes from a podcast called Hunting Warhead, which is about an actual group on the dark web and how law enforcement has to cooperate internationally in order to combat that.
And so, what was the first idea you had for Dark Mode?
Oh, the first idea was actually one of the twists. So there's a moment, I won't give a spoiler, but if you read the book, there's a moment where the main character, Reagan, she goes and knocks on a door and she's expecting a certain person to answer, and that's not who answers. And that moment was, and what is happening there, like if you, once you read the book and you know what's happening there, that moment was something I've never seen in crime fiction, and maybe someone else has. Maybe, you know, if you have, tell me. But I hadn't seen it, and I was like, oh, I wonder what I would need to put in place to make that work as a plot.
Yeah.
So I started with that moment, and I worked sort of forward and backward from it.
And like the main character works in a flower shop, and I just want to show the cover again because I really love the cover. The dahlias, aren't they beautiful? and the colours in it. Are they, do you, like, for yourself, are they your favourite flowers, or is that something?
Question always ask me what my favorite flower is. Yeah, I actually really love a tiger lily. That is probably my favorite flower, is the tiger lily. But I did really fall in love with dahlias writing this book, and the, dahlias are so interesting because there's so many varieties. Oh, and orchids. I found out that there are so many varieties of orchids. So there are 28,000 different varieties of orchids. And one day I was doing research because one of the flowers in this book is the monkey orchid, which is like this type of orchid that the flower grows and it has this cute little monkey face on the blossom. Like it's super cute. And so I put a price for that flower in the book, but then I was like, oh, I don't really know what someone would actually charge for this flower. So I called up an orchidist online, you know, a flower shop that claims that they specialize in orchids. I found this place and I was like, hi, I'm an author, I'm writing this book. And I asked, like, so, you know, would you know how much you would sell a monkey orchid for? And the woman was like, is this a prank call? Monkey orchid. But then I was like, no, it's real. Just Google it. And so she Googled it while we were on the phone. She was like, oh, she's like, these are really cool. I was like, so how much would you charge for that? So yeah, it's So orchids as well. There's some really, really interesting orchids.
Yeah, there certainly are. I've seen some like that look like little, even like probably like the monkey orchids, but they look like little people, and yeah.
Yeah. The naked man orchid. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
So got quite a few people watching, so just wanted to say to the people watching, if you've got questions for Ashley, please type them and I can read them out. We did talk a little bit about some of the research you did. Sharon's wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what different research you did do for the book.
Sure, yeah. Well, one of the things I did was I learned how to go on the dark web myself. The first thing I did was I read a couple books on the dark web, which was fascinating. And then I did a workshop with a dark web journalist who used Zoom to just take us on a tour of the dark web.
Oh, really?
Oh, the best use of Zoom possible. Like, that was like 2 hours. I could have spent all day just being like, show me more of the dark web. But yeah, I learned to go on the dark web myself. Also, I did a lot of research into the Black Dahlia murder. So the reason there are dahlias on the cover is because I've woven in this true crime case from Los Angeles from 1947, which is the murder of Elizabeth Short. She was a woman in her early 20s who had come to LA kind of interested in pursuing an acting career, but really she was like looking for a husband. She wanted to have a family, which was, you know, fairly standard for women in the 1940s. And unfortunately, she crossed paths with the wrong person and she ended up being murdered. And the case is still unsolved to this day. And it's often described as America's, it's still technically unsolved. It's often described as America's most infamous unsolved murder case. And they say that there's 3 reasons why it's really hung around in the popular consciousness, because there's still movies being made about this book. There's still, like, there was a TV miniseries with Chris Pine that was made in 2019. Like, still tons of books being written about it, new podcast series coming out about it. So one thing is that it's still unsolved, which, you know, kind of has that air of mystery around it. Another thing is that because of this nickname, like, and it's not clear whether this was a nickname she had in life or if the press gave her this nickname after she died. But she had this really pale face and these big dark curls, these big black curls of hair. And so she was called the Black Dahlia. There's no actual Black Dahlias. They come in a very dark purple, and that's what's on the cover. And then the other reason that this case has come around in the public consciousness so long is because of the way she was posed. Like, her body was posed. It was cut in half at the waist and posed really specifically and left in a suburban neighborhood, like really intentionally, to be found and seen. And I know, you know, in TV and movies, we see that all the time. But in real life, actually, like, for a murderer to pose a victim like that only happens about 1% of the time. It's actually incredibly rare.
And quite a lot of work involved to do that as well. Like, I would have thought.
Exactly. Exactly. So I get into the actual details like of that case in the book. My other main character, Minley Chase, she's the main character's best friend, and she is a true crime author and reporter. So she's kind of my voice in the novel. She brings in all the true crime elements, and she talks about real cases and does her research. And the main character is like represents my husband, who's like, please don't talk to me about murders.
And I'm wondering then, with all your research, especially like maybe with the dark web, was there something you found that maybe shocked you or totally surprised you? Or
Oh, that's a great question. I think with the dark web, I mean, one thing that totally shocks me is the amount of child abuse material that's on it. I mean, that's one of the things, unfortunately, that it really proliferates on there. And the thing that makes it so hard to stop that is that if law enforcement finds out about one of these sites on the dark web, if the people running it get tipped off, they just shut the site down immediately, and then they can start it up under a different URL, and the police have to start all over from scratch again. So it's very hard for them to combat that.
And Sharon wonders how you chose your characters' names.
Oh, great question, Sharon. Thank you. I use baby name websites. Google thinks I'm pregnant. I'm always on the baby name websites because I really like names that are a little bit unusual. Like I want names that sort of feel distinct to the character. So some people in my writers groups are like, why aren't your characters named like Tom or Sally? Because there's lots of Toms and Sallys in fiction. I want more distinct names.
Yeah. And Kelly says she also loves the cover, and dark thrillers are increasing in popularity. She wonders who inspired you to write this genre.
Oh, well, I just have always loved the genre. The authors that inspired me were Candace Fox, for sure. I love, especially her solo books like Crimson Lake. Oh, love Crimson Lake. Tana French. Tana French does these amazing in-depth interrogation scenes, and she writes often police procedurals, so she's writing them from the cop's point of view. And I actually used her as a model for one of the bigger scenes in the book, which I was really excited about. And then Candace Fox, Tana French, J.P. Pomeroy, who I love, absolutely love him. And even The Silence of the Lambs, The Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite books, and so I wanted that kind of vibe. It's quite a different book from The Silence of the Lambs, but I think it's echoing it in a lot of ways.
And Kelly said if you could use 5 words to describe your book, what would they be?
Oh, Kelly, what a question. Fantastic. They would be gripping, dark, feminist, Australian, and surprising, twisty.
Yeah, okay. No, that's great choice of words. Belinda wonders if you have a favourite character that you wrote.
I love this question. 100% Minley Chase.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. She walked onto the page at just 100% complete the way she is now, the way she was in the first draft. Whereas Reagan was the opposite. Reagan I have 2 writers groups that I submit chapters to every month. And so when they were reading the early drafts with Reagan in them, they were just they couldn't relate to Reagan and they didn't understand her, and it's just all these layers of problems that I had to work through. And I've been really happy because more readers have commented to me about Reagan than they have about Min, which I'm really surprised about. Yeah, because in my writers group it was always we love Min, but Reagan. So I'm glad we got Reagan working. I'm glad she works as a character and she's connecting with readers. But like I said, Min is sort of a little bit based on me too, in terms of her true crime love. So I do have a lot of affection for Min, and I'm also a big hugger, and she's more like me.
Yeah. And I'm interested to know reader feedback. I know your book has only just really come out, but I'm sure you've already got a lot of reader feedback. Is there anything that has maybe surprised or touched you that you could share?
Oh, thank you. That's also a lovely question. Yeah, the book's been out a month in Australia, and it's amazing. It was actually for the past 2 weeks. It's been the #1 fiction seller, Australian fiction seller, which has just been really incredible. So I'm so thankful to readers, and so many of them say they love the cover, which is fantastic. I fell in love with it the first time I saw it, but also I've had some readers say to me that like they looked at the cover and they didn't think it was a psychological thriller. Like, and
Oh, really?
I guess it's because the publisher was trying to do something a little different with it.
Yeah.
So some have been like, oh wow, this book was not what I expected when I started reading it. And the other feedback I've been getting, I love it. It's really funny. I think I'm responsible for like a lot of lost sleep across the country.
Yeah.
People have been texting and being like, your book kept me awake till 2 in the morning. Like one person told me they stayed up till 5 a.m. reading it. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you, because that's a huge compliment.
Yeah. And how do you find, like, it's taken you a long time to write your book, for readers who say, oh, I read the book in one night, or what does that make you feel?
I'm just like, you're going to have to wait a little while. Sorry. I'm like, I can't write them that fast. But it's like, I take it as a huge compliment. It's like, that's what I wanted. That is 100%. I love it when a book grabs me from like the opening, and then I like it has its own pull. Like I just want to keep reading it, and I really do struggle to put it down. And I wanted to create that feeling for readers, and to know that I've given that to some people has been just really, really rewarding. I'm so grateful.
And Troy says, how much did you plan the book before writing it? And are you a planner rather than a pantster?
I'm a bit in the middle of that spectrum. So what I did with this book was I had like a vague like macro plan. So I knew where I wanted it to go. And so I sort of had like when I say a macro plan, I mean like a 1-page sort of like dot points, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And then I wrote the first 40,000 words, and my writers group was reading it sort of month by month. And by then I realized there were all these problems with it. It wasn't working. So I chucked out almost all of that material. I started again. Then I wrote a whole 75,000 word draft. And that was kind of my draft 1.5. Then what I did, Troy, that's when I made the master plan. So I took that raw material and I used that to do a scene by scene outline of like exactly what would happen in each scene. And then I reworked it. So some of the scenes, only needed some edits, and others needed just complete rewrites. And when I got to the end, so the outline itself was 15,000 words. And then when I got to the end of the next draft, which was about 90, that was sort of, okay, now I had a working draft. And then my next revisions were still like big picture, like there were big picture changes, but the book was there. Like you could identify it as the story that it is now. Because I mean, the early version had this whole cult subplot that didn't work at all. And that's got yanked out because it didn't work. But it was quite different from what it is now.
And when you do your planning and you've got like your twists and your final ending and everything, did that change at all from what you planned it?
The twist didn't change because basically, like, for me, in my experience, when you plan the twists and you're trying to plan a story around the twist, the challenge is just getting the story to work to make the twist work.
Yeah.
So, like, I knew the twist that I wanted, but I needed the book, like, I needed to lay the groundwork because a thriller is all about, like, getting readers to buy into the story, like that there's something going on, but they don't know what it is, but they find it believable. And if you can get them to buy into that, then you can take them on this incredible ride. But if in the early chapters they're like, no, I don't believe she wouldn't. Like, so like opening chapter, Regan finds this body and she does not call the cops. If as a reader you don't buy into that, then you're probably not going to read the rest of the book.
And Natalie wonders if Min's going to feature in your next book.
Oh, thank you, Natalie. I've loved there's been a lot of love for Regan and Min, and a lot of requests for a sequel. So the next book, Regan, at this stage, Regan is making a small appearance in the next book. But I think after that, I might have to bring the two of them back because people clearly love them.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. So can you tell us anything about what you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, it's another psychological thriller. So, my early books, as you mentioned in my bio, Jackie, my early books were quite different from Dark Mode. This is my first psychological thriller. But my plan now is, this is what I love. I'm so excited about it. And my plan is just to keep going with psychological thrillers. So the next one is under contract with Ultimo Press. And it is set in Winnipeg, Canada, which is the part of Canada I'm from.
Yeah.
In a minus winter. And it's about a woman. It's about a woman who believes that her father faked his own death.
Okay.
Which is all I can say.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be waiting for that one. I know. And yeah, like you did say, it's quite different. I loved How to Be Australian. I think I said to you at the time when we spoke about it, I'm from New Zealand and could relate to a lot of those things living in Australia. Is that something like we might ever get an update of how things are going in your life now living in Australia?
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. The thing about that book is, like, that book has a lot of humor in it. And
yeah, totally different.
Yeah, completely. At that time, like when I was writing the humor in that book, I was doing stand-up comedy and I was really immersed in sort of the comedy world. And then, because I also have a comedy background, like I did sketch comedy and I did improv, so that's always also been part of my life. But then when I got sick in 2017, I haven't been able to write humor since then. Like I used to have a lot more capacity for writing humor, and that is one thing that I really lost. So all the funny bits of How to Be Australian were written before I got sick, and all the really felt stuff was written after I got sick, which is why I had that balance. And yeah, so that's a good question. I don't know if I could write in that tone again. But on my website, I put lots of updates on my website about, like various crazy things that are going on in my life. So you can always check in there.
Yeah. And I remember you had some earrings that were special when you had How to Be Australian. Have you got some earrings this time to go with Dark Mode?
Well, these ones are just I like them because they look a little bit digital. But I have these incredible. They're huge. They're caramel slices. And actually, no, excuse me. I have little caramel slice ones. But then I have big Ice Bobo ones.
Yeah,
that's right. I wore them for the last event. Yeah, they were like one of the readers when I did the launch, because it was How to Be Australian came out in 2020, so everything was online. We did the launch online, and one of the readers texted me this link to these earrings. She's like, "You've got to get these Ice Bobo earrings," and I of course did.
And what sort of things have you been able to do this time for promoting Dark Mode?
Oh, it's been so much fun to be able to go out and actually meet readers in person. Like, I love online events are great. It's nice to be able to do this from my office.
Yeah.
But I've been able to. I did a launch here in Sydney. We had a giant book cake, so I think I posted a picture of it.
Yeah, I saw. Looked like it was.
It was chocolate mud. It was so good. So we did that. I went around to bookshops and did tons of book signings, and like I knew this book was like on another level than How to Be Australian, because like I had booksellers coming up to me and like hugging me. They were so excited to like see me come to the store. And went to Melbourne, we had a big launch there, which was really exciting. And I'll be doing events. I've got an event in Newcastle this weekend. And I've got some other festival events that I can't share yet, but I will be getting around to a bit more of Australia, hopefully, and getting to meet more people soon.
Yeah, well, I hope you get to meet some of our members in person.
Yes, it'd be fabulous.
And Kim wonders how you feel about the editing process.
Oh, great. I loved it. So like I said, I do a lot of editing, like get a lot of feedback from my writers group all through the process. And I'm like so grateful to them because they help steer me onto the right path early on, because I'll get an idea in my head that I totally think is worth like that cult subplot. Like I was like, oh, this is great. And then my writers group will be like, does this really make sense though? So that's super helpful. And then my book went to my Australian agent, and my US agent gave me feedback. And I was so grateful for their feedback because they know the market. Like they know what publishers are looking for, and they know what's selling, and they know what's, like they know what books that they're trying to sell that they can't get across the line. So they gave me 11 points of feedback, like that were kind of quite big picture changes, and I made 10 of them. The 11th one I would have made, but I was just like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I'd have to rewrite, like I'd have to write a different book. Like I was just like, there's no way I can make this suggestion work. And that was fine. They were really happy. And then it went to my, when Ultimo Press signed it, it went to the editor there. We did a big edit. And that one wasn't as large as with the agents. And it was also, again, like great feedback. It was wonderful, like just, you know, having someone to call up and say like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this, or like sending her a scene and being like, is this scene working now? So that was fantastic. And then the copy editor was great. The proofreader was amazing. They posted me the proofread. They sent me this like brick of paper in the mail because they did the proofread on paper. Then I had to go through and look at all the typesetter marks on it. It was really, really cool. So I loved the editing process. I find first drafts harder. I find first drafts, you know, you're just creating everything. You're creating this whole new world. And I find that a bit overwhelming. So I find it easier once I've got the material to play with.
And I'm sure you know, all our members, we love getting book recommendations. So just wondering if there might have been something you've read something you've read lately that you'd like to recommend to us.
Absolutely. So you mentioned my podcast, James and Ashley Stay at Home. It's a podcast about writing, creativity, and health. And we interview a whole variety of different authors on there. So one that we spoke to recently, and this is an upcoming episode, it's not released yet, but this is Anna Spargo Ryan's A Kind of Magic. Have you read this one, Jackie?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually heard of that one yet.
So this is a memoir, and it's a memoir of living with anxiety and mental illness. And it's like, it's a memoir, but there's something about her voice, like, this was one of those books that I like picked it up and I read the first couple chapters, and then I like had to stop everything in my life and just keep reading it. Like I would be sitting there working, and 5 minutes later I'd find myself just like being like, 4 more pages. It's so good, and I think everyone should read it because she does such a good job of giving insight into, you know, what's going on in the mind of someone who's struggling with mental health issues. So I found, you know, someone myself who struggled with those issues, not as severely as Anna has, but I found she articulated things so well and helped me better understand my own experience. But also, you know, she said that she's had people give the book to their psychologist.
Oh, really?
To be like, I need you to read this so you understand what's going on for me.
Wow.
So it's a really valuable book. And then I would also recommend, J.P. Pomeroy has a new book coming out, Home by Night, and Candace Fox has a new book coming out, Fire with Fire.
Yeah.
So I'm super looking forward to both of those.
Yeah, and I'm interviewing J.P. Pomeroy in a few weeks' time, I think. So looking forward to reading his book as well.
Excellent. Excellent.
And Troy's got an interesting question. So Troy says, how did you build an audience for Dark Mode before its release, and what tactics worked well?
Oh, great question, Troy. So my publicist did a really great thing where she sent copies of the book to bookstagrammers and people and TikTok book reviewers, book talk people. And so she put a call out. She has a list. She put a call out to them. But like any author could do this, you know, on their own, put a call out to bookstagrammers. But she didn't just send them the book. She packaged, the Ultimo Press team packaged the book up with this black tissue paper and rose petals and these little like cards. This is one of them here. These creepy little cards.
Yeah, I got one of those cards with your book. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they sent those out, and they kept referring to it as a bit of theater. They're like, it's a good bit of theater for Bookstagram or Book Talk. So that was one way, and they sent those out, you know, 2 months, 6 weeks in advance. And so they built some momentum with the book prior to its release, which definitely really helped.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Kelly wonders what has been the best part of your writing journey so far.
This has been pretty exciting. Like this was, like having my first book out was amazing, but it came out with a very, very small press in Sydney. And it was incredible. It was really amazing. We had a big chocolate mud cake for that book too. And then Honey Strain was really exciting, but that came out during COVID, so it was a little bit harder. But this, like, Dark Mode's just a different level of book because it's in the airport, and it had that big publicity push before it was released. So, like I said, like, booksellers have been really excited, and the reviews have been really amazing. So, this right now, this whole month has just been the best months of my life.
And is it being published in other countries?
Yes, so it's coming out in the UK on April 13th.
Yep.
In hardcover, which I'm really excited about. And it is coming out in Germany. It's in the process of translation right now. So that is really exciting, and hopefully more countries will jump on the bandwagon. Countries out there, you're
and any plans to go to those to the UK or Germany?
Well, yes. So I'm going to the UK. I am going to the UK in September this year. There's an event there that I am going for, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great to meet readers there and connect with authors there, and it looks like there's a huge crime community in the UK, which is amazing. So if anybody's watching from the UK, hello, I'm excited to meet you. And then Germany, we'll wait and see. I wish I spoke German. Now I kind of want to learn German.
Yeah, you have to do a crash course in German.
Exactly.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. It's been great talking to you, and I hope everyone goes out and reads Dark Mode, a really thrilling and a bit scary sort of read. So if you're into that, really recommend it. And thanks for the people who asked some questions. We had some great questions.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, and thanks for being part of the whole chat today. And thank you, Jackie, for just fostering this incredible community where we get to talk about and celebrate books. It's just such a wonderful space.
And hope I get to meet you sometime at one of the events, and hope we get to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and I really hope you enjoy Dark Mode. And just get in touch. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers.